Hello and welcome back to Lucky Crit. Today we're going to be talking all about Langrisser M, otherwise known as Langrisser Mobile. This is a brand new strategy RPG game that's going to be coming to an app store near you very, very soon. And I've been given this opportunity, and I took this opportunity because it's very, very reminiscent of both Fire Emblem, and also looks to be a little bit of a combination between Fire Emblem and Advance Wars, and I really like that aspect about it. Unfortunately, I haven't really crossed paths with the Langrisser series before, but it would have been hard to do so because until 2016, the only game in the series that we officially got here in the West was actually the original Langrisser, which was actually released under the title Warsong for the Sega Genesis. In 2016, though, we did actually receive Langrisser Reincarnation, which was the 3DS revival of the series. So it's been a mostly Japanese series, however, we're finally about to get it here in the West as a mobile game. So today I'm going to be giving you my honest thoughts about this game, and also kind of comparing it back and forth between it and Fire Emblem Heroes, as most of you guys out there in my audience are very familiar with the Fire Emblem series, and also with Fire Emblem Heroes, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to once again take a look at this game and kind of weigh it up against Fire Emblem Heroes. And for those of you that maybe, don't play Heroes anymore or have become kind of disenfranchised with it, maybe this is the game that you're looking for, and a game that you might enjoy and be interested in. So let's take a look. So to start things off, I was actually going to re-roll this account to kind of start fresh with you guys and kind of go through everything here, so you got a general sense of kind of what's going on and everything that happens from the very beginning. However, over my time playing the game, I just had so many incredible experiences with these characters that I just kind of figured that it just didn't feel right to kind of re-roll and reset from the very beginning.
I am Imelda. Please call me General.
So we'll just continue on where I left off. So this is the world map. It's kind of cool. I kind of wish that we had something like this in Fire Emblem Heroes. I don't know how much of the game is going to be available yet. This seems to be kind of a little bit of a beta version, and you'll see that in the sense of it does seem like some of the dialogue has changed a little bit between the voiced lines that are in English so far and the actual text in the game itself. But I hope that that's going to be ironed out before release. Otherwise, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a couple differences here and there between the dialogue on screen and what you're hearing. But this game is actually mostly voiced as far as the story chapters go, and even the characters themselves are also voiced kind of like Fire Emblem Heroes, which I do like and do appreciate. So let's take a look quickly here at my hero list. I've only got a couple heroes here, but as you can see, here's the main character, Matthew. We've also got Grenier and Aimida. Obviously, this is a pretty standard beginning of the game set of characters. I think both Lance and Scott are characters that you're supposed to get, not random summons, even though I did summon for them. They were kind of like the introduction to summon characters, though I did manage to pull Imelda, which has nothing to do with the fact that I didn't want to reroll. Don't pay attention to that. And of course, like in Heroes, we can actually tap the characters and hear them talk, which I think is pretty cool.
It's windy. This is my first time out of the village. There's nothing special about the outside world.
What you hate is being worthless. Do you know? There's something extraordinary brewing in my body. Get ready to protect me at a moment's notice.
So this is a pretty similar and pretty familiar looking arrangement here. We've got all the characters. You can also see that to upgrade them and bring them up to a potential 6 stars, this character's only 2 stars currently, we're going to need fragments or shards of these characters, memory shards, which I don't actually know how common they are at this point, but anyway, that's the way to upgrade them. I did also notice some cool stuff about the characters as well, such as there's actually branched promotion in this game, which I think is really, really cool. So I can't really do it for you right now, but if I take a look at upgrading the character's class, we can see that she starts off as a mage here, but she can become an archmage, bishop, a swordsman, and then ultimately it looks like a 3rd tier class of a queen, which is pretty cool. So I thought that was pretty awesome, something that I kind of wish Fire Emblem Heroes incorporated to a degree. So that is kind of interesting for me, and it does make me kind of feel like the Langrisser mobile experience is going to be like maybe perhaps less of a watered down experience than Fire Emblem Heroes is. And I do want to be upfront and say that obviously I love Fire Emblem Heroes. Fire Emblem Heroes is a great game, but there are some aspects of it that are definitely watered down compared to the main games, and there are fans out there that were disappointed with that. So maybe this is something that they can latch onto here and enjoy, but I just thought that was cool that you can actually kind of choose the promotional path for characters. A lot of us grew up playing Fire Emblem Sacred Stones, and that game introduced that for Fire Emblem, so it's cool to see something like that here. We can also select the different soldiers that appear with the characters, and we'll get into more of this later, but I find this interesting as well. Let's see actually how to acquire them. So different classes have different soldiers available to them, which is pretty cool. And we actually have to master the class first before we can upgrade. Obviously, I'm still kind of in the beginning of the game, so I can't really do that. But there's also equipment, and I can't show you that quite yet. We'll get there after we do main story chapter 3. But there are actually weapons that we can summon for and equip to our characters as well, which I find interesting. So definitely a lot of customization available here. And let's just dive right in and get to a mission, why don't we? So we can see this soldier over here, that bread above his head. This is actually our stamina. We've also got these crystals up here, which are actually Trinity crystals. And from what I saw in the store, it looks like we can use them to exchange for shards of certain characters. I don't see like everyone in here yet, so I'm not quite sure if this is going to be like a rotational shop or anything, but those are just sort of my quick observations so far on that. And we can buy other stuff with them too, like Trinity vouchers. So these are going to allow us to summon for kind of the rare heroes, so a little bit pricey there, considering I only have 155 so far. But I did also notice that we have this Tour of Light going on up here, and I love seeing stuff like this in these games because it does give me hope that the game is going to be fairly generous when it comes to giving out free SSRs, because, you know, not every game and not every gamer is going to be able to do, you know, pay to play. And so all the F2P players, there should still be a pretty generous amount of SSRs given out to those who aren't able to spend money on the game. So I do really like this a lot. It does seem like a lot of the stuff in here is pretty standard stuff. So just by playing through the game, you'll eventually unlock enough points if you can do it within the 11 days, and you'll get yourself a free SSR. So let's go and engage this soldier over here. So we have our preparation screen here, kind of like Fire Emblem, of course. And if I click this little grid, there's the kind of map here. And I can also switch out other characters that I have from down here. I might actually, let's see. So there is, as you can see in the top left, there's actually a weapon triangle in this game, which is really funny. Very interesting. A little bit different than Fire Emblem, but it kind of makes sense in its own way. So we will take a look at that. This guy in the bottom left here, I'm a little hesitant to bring in, though, because he is a Hawk Knight. Obviously, you know, kind of like a Pegasus Knight in Fire Emblem. So he's going to be weak to arrows, which is actually consistent. That's also in this game as well. And there is an archer over here with a pretty solid range. So I'm going to leave that guy out. We're going to bring everybody else, though. Let's go. So you'll notice that each character has little soldiers near them, and that actually factors into this game a lot, and that actually is the reason why I consider it pretty similar to Advance Wars. So if we take a look here, this is our kind of like battle pre-prep window. We can see what we're going to do. We have an intelligence of 45, which is our magical attack, to their magical defense of 15. So it looks like we're going to do pretty well against this guy. Let's go with Imelda here. And actually, you'll see that they have a bar underneath their hero bar for their soldiers. So your soldiers can actually get knocked out and be gone before your hero can. It's basically kind of like your backup defense, and I'm assuming extra attack. I don't know everything about the game just yet at this moment, but it seems kind of like that's the way that it goes. And you can see here that this is a cavalry unit, and actually, if I unselect him here, we've got the unit restrictions and also the weapon triangle up here, which is super interesting. So infantry actually beat lance units beat cavalry units, and cavalry units beat infantry units, which is obviously a little bit of a different twist on things, but I do find that interesting, and I think it does make sense. You know, if you're on a horse, you kind of have an innate advantage against infantry units, so that's pretty cool. So we're going to use this guy here to finish off the enemy. Let's go for it. He's got a personal skill. That's something that I'll get into in a moment as well. I do find that interesting because Heroes actually doesn't even have personal skills, even though Fire Emblem games have incorporated that in the past. So let's see if I can get into this guy's features here. Okay, so he's got a talent called Safe Tactics. When entering battle with an HP above 50%, damage taken is decreased by 15%. So that's pretty cool. And actually, let's go through and see other folks' skills as well. Imelda here has Iron Glove, which is troop damage increased by 10% after attacking. Casts Iron Hand on one ally within one block. All hero stats increase by 10%, lose 10% HP after battle. So that just adds like another layer of cool depth that I think that I really like. And each character has their own individual talent, which I think is pretty awesome as well. So I just think that that's something that honestly even Heroes could benefit from too. Something that we've seen in recent Fire Emblem games, but didn't translate over to the mobile version of Fire Emblem. So this is Matthew, the main character, and he's got Friendship. So when entering battle, if an ally is within 2 blocks, there's a 30% chance to increase attack and defense by 10%. So pretty cool. So you'll see that he's actually weak against this cavalry unit over here. Kind of not the best situation for him to be in, but I think what I'm going to do is actually move him here. And I'm going to move this guy Grenier here and activate his shield defense skill. It's kind of like a paladin skill because he kind of takes the damage and covers other people. We have Aimida here, actually one of my more favorite characters so far. She tends to break the fourth wall a lot from what I've seen of her dialogue, so she's pretty cool. She can also heal with her special skill here. And if you were paying attention, you can also see that the actual skill animations do look very, very similar to the Fire Emblem critical animations, which I think is kind of cool. Very reminiscent. So we got attacked by an archer here. So here's that guard skill coming into play. So you'll see that Grenier here is actually a lancer, so he does have advantage over the cavaliers. And now we've got a mage here attacking, I think his name is Scott. Okay. So with Imelda here, we're going to attack from across the way. Actually, let's see what her skill does. I actually have not done this yet. So we got Free Strike, which critted, nice. Took care of them. Then her Iron Glove personal skill took place. I'll have Scott here run across. He actually ran across the water. I don't know if cavalry can just innately do that. Maybe they can. Find that interesting as well. So Matthew here is going to be a little bit better of a match for this other infantry guy here, as opposed to the cavalry units. So let's have him face off against these guys. You can see definitely what I meant in terms of it looks like Advance Wars, because we have the whole like platoon of soldiers on the field, which is kind of funny too, because the newer Fire Emblem that's going to be coming out for the Switch also does a pretty similar thing. So seems to be back in style. We got the Advance Wars kind of aesthetic in full swing here, although Langrisser as a series itself has always done that as well. So I really like the look of the sprites here, and actually you've probably been able to tell already, but the actual art style for this game in terms of the character art is very reminiscent of 90s animation, 90s anime, and I do find that kind of interesting and honestly kind of refreshing, because it's been such a long time since we've seen anime of that style. So it looks like it harkens back to the original Langrisser games, which I think is kind of cool, kind of a nice throwback. Even though we never managed to play it, so we won't really have that nostalgia for it, I do think it's cool, and it definitely makes the game look different and stand out compared to other stuff that's coming out today. And I'll just have you move over here. She's got a skill cooldown, so you can't just keep using your skills. This one is going to be interesting, though. I'll use Scott's skill here. It's actually, I think it's called Ram. Let's see, I might be mistaken. Yep, it's called Ram. And you'll notice that it actually does, unfortunately I killed the enemy with it, but it does actually push back the enemy too. So you've got some cool stuff that you can play around with skills, so I like that. See if Matthew can finish this battle off. This little crystal thing to the right here is actually an EXP potion to level up characters. Then, of course, we have our coins. One thing I do wish that the game had is a way to kind of double tap and speed up the text a little bit. I do like hearing the voice acting. There isn't voice acting here on the main world map that I've noticed so far, but in the actual story chapters there is, and I do actually like it. The voice acting is actually pretty solid. My favorite character is probably Aimida so far. She's a great voice actress. She does a wonderful job, although you will notice the occasional one that's just not quite up to that level.
That's it. This is my territory. I won't let you do whatever you want. Get out of my territory quickly!
Huh. Are you trying to fight against my Blue Dragon Knights?
I do, however, wish that you can double tap to speed up the text, because actually if you do tap when they're talking, it will just straight up skip that text bubble, and that's not really what I wanted to do. I just wanted it to move a little bit faster, because it does kind of type at a little bit of a slow pace. So there's that. Here's a new pop-up here. So as you can see, there are also like kind of random events all over the world map, which I find kind of interesting. So you can actually do like enemy skirmishes and encounters and even boss events. So that's pretty cool as well. You can see we can get some cool drops from them too. All right, so let's take a look here if I could do this slime battle. Let's go for it. Let's try it. Looks like we only have 3 characters this time around. There's only 3 slimes though. Looks like they have the reproduce ability, which means that they can reproduce into other slimes. They probably break down, similar to how they work in some other games. I see. I'm actually going to... I'll just stick with the standard crew for this mission. And let's see what we can do. So actually our magic here with Aimida is actually strong against it, so that's good. Finished off that guy pretty easily. Alright, this wasn't too bad at all. But there's that reproduce skill. Split off into another slime. As you can see, I just accidentally skipped that text message. So I do hope that that's something that they do fix in the future. So you can see the boss's HP started to drop, you know, solely focused after the soldiers dropped first. So it's kind of like your first line of defense, unfortunately. They are basically just meat shields that are kind of guarding the main character. But that's how it tends to work, so... There's that. Looks like Grenier is probably going to finish this off. Yep. Nice. Alright, so now let's do some summoning. Unfortunately, I don't have too many materials saved up. I am still in the very beginning of the game, but I figured it'd be kind of fun to do with you guys, so let's take a look at that. As I said before, we can do an equipment summon, a hero summon, and there's also a friend voucher summon, which I do have a couple of those, so let's actually try this out. It does kind of seem like a lower end summon, though. I don't think it's quite as good as the others. But this is the summon screen. Let's do a little crisscross here. We got a normal rare hammer, mallet. Let me see what it is. It's a mallet. I'll take that. Let's do a hero summon. I only have one Trinity voucher, so let's hope this is a good one. I don't know what the rates are. Actually, I'll take a look if I can see that and figure that out. You do have to slash this little watch here, which is kind of cool. Okay, it seems like it's only going to be a rare, because I think Gold and Beyond is probably SR. Okay, yeah. Looks like a pretty generic guy. You can see the little Facebook share button down there, so they really are trying to integrate social media as well. I do also want to point out that when you first start the game, there is an option to link your account, but unfortunately only to Facebook. And, you know, after all the recent data breaches and stuff, I mean, for me personally, I would honestly just delete my Facebook if it wasn't the only way that I could contact certain people. So I would much prefer to have like a Google link or something else to kind of keep your account. Otherwise, when you do lose your phone or if anything happens, you delete the game or anything, you will lose all your data in the game. So you do definitely want to make sure that you do link it. But I honestly do hope that they can bring in some other form of linking, whether it's through Google or something else, because I just think that Facebook is not really the best option. So that's unfortunate. We didn't get anything too cool out of that, but I will summon again later if I can, after we get some more materials. Let's actually continue the story, though, because that might be interesting for you guys. It looks like we'll have to deal with this slime, though, as well, too. Alright, so it's finally time to go equip our characters. So let's go into details and then equipment. We're going to give Matthew here... We're going to give him a mallet, apparently. We can actually forge and upgrade stuff too, so that's interesting. We can see here, though, this basic mallet gives us HP plus 10 and attack plus 2. We're going to see what happens after we forge it. So the strengthening material here is actually other weapons. It didn't give us a chance percentage or anything, so I don't know if that's a guarantee or something that's going to get harder to do as it kind of increases and gets to more stars. But it's probably the case. Alright, so that's pretty cool. We also do have these strengthening materials, which I know I have a couple of because I got it from something earlier, so that's cool. So equipment is probably, honestly, just as important as the characters themselves that you're using, so I kind of like that. Kind of does seem a little bit similar to Heroes in the sense of being able to kind of use whoever you want, and as long as you can kind of give them better stuff, they'll probably be pretty competitive and pretty solid. I also like this and think that it's really cool because they did obviously incorporate the bigger maps. You know, Fire Emblem Heroes is a lot more limited in terms of map space. We can actually zoom in here, not too much, but we can get closer, we can zoom out a little bit, and they made it work with bigger maps, even though this is a mobile game. It is still fairly quick, at least with these beginning maps, so I like that a lot, and I think it's a good example that Heroes can still go bigger with their maps. You know, Grand Conquest and stuff is bigger than what we've gotten before, but not quite to this scale, and this is a nice representation. I mean, imagine in Heroes if we got actual maps based upon the real areas from the Fire Emblem games. You know, we kind of do have throwback maps that are similar, but almost a downscaled version of that. So imagine if we had the real full-scale, full-size maps in Heroes. I think that's pretty sweet. So seeing it here in Langrisser, it's obviously doable on mobile. It's something that I like a lot. I appreciate that. Just overall, in general, this game really does seem like the real, authentic Langrisser experience. Not too boiled down, not too simplified for mobile, so I do actually really like that. It's obviously a little bit cleaner, a little bit faster, but overall, I think Fire Emblem Heroes did take a little bit more of a hit in terms of being able to simplify itself for the mobile platform. So that's something to consider and think about as well. So this is actually really cool. It's giving us kind of almost an early game Fire Emblem tutorial here about using basically our Pegasus Knight, who can fly, to go over and reach this chest while everybody else is kind of holding off the enemy. I do actually like that there are varied mission types. That seems really cool. It's something that is kind of absent and weirdly absent from Heroes. I can't speak to the amount of modes in the game so far. This is probably about it, but what I do like is the map variety and the difference in missions. Obviously, we just experienced a defend map where we had to survive a certain number of turns, and of course then we just had another varied mission here where we had to take out specific enemies in order to finish the map, and kind of honestly avoid other enemies in kind of like a grid puzzle. So it's cool. I really appreciate that. It's definitely a different take, and honestly feels, this is going to be like sacrilegious to say, but it feels a little bit more like classic Fire Emblem than even Fire Emblem Heroes, so I do find that super interesting, and so far I'm really enjoying my time playing the game, so I'm liking it a lot. There's also apparently going to be a mode where you can slay bosses with your friends in real-time battles on these large maps, which I think is really awesome, and that's honestly really what I've been hoping for in Fire Emblem Heroes. So to see such a mode coming to this game is just, once again, another thing that I think this game is going in the correct direction with. And I think that Langrisser M is definitely succeeding as far as when it comes to the more technical aspects of things, having a lot more depth, and having a lot of these features and systems that the original games did have originally. So to me, that's definitely a huge plus in my book. So overall, I've really had a great time playing the game, and I really do honestly believe that it has succeeded over Fire Emblem Heroes, at least in terms of its transition from consoles to mobile. There's definitely a lot that it has to offer, and the experience is a lot more whole and a lot less watered down in its mobile incarnation. So that's going to wrap up this episode. If you did enjoy it, be sure to slash that thumbs up down below. If you are interested in checking out the game, I will be adding the actual download link in the description of this video when the game actually finally launches, so be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. Definitely be sure to check it out if it does seem interesting to you. Also, make sure to get subscribed if you haven't yet to stay up to date on all of our latest content. You can also follow us on Twitter if you want to stay up to date with all of our latest news. And of course, a big shout out and thank you to NewCode and Langrisser for sponsoring this video. A huge thank you to all of our amazing patrons who help to keep the channel alive and going. And if you'd like to have further discussion beyond this video, be sure to check out and join our Discord server. Links, as always, are in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Struggle as much as you want.